Shopping for bargains has become a national obsession. Clothes have never been more disposable.
You get that kind of buzz of like, oh, I got a bargain.
But would our passion for throwaway fashion be so strong if we knew how our clothes were really made?
It doesn't really affect me if it's been made by a 3-year-old or a 50-year-old.
6 fashion fanatics have swapped shopping for India to find out firsthand what it takes to make us look good. Amongst them are ad man Richard McIntyre.
They've called them, sweatshops, and they've said it is child labour, but I'd quite like to sort of get my own opinion of it.
Aspiring fashion designer Tara Scott.
You can know that something's going on, but if you haven't seen it, then it's almost like is it real? Which truth do you believe?
And shop assistant Stacey Dooley.
I don't give it any thought. India's so far away, I don't really think.
Their journey started at one of the most prestigious factories in India, learning to make clothes for some of the biggest names on the UK high street. But the pressure there was too much for some.
It's claustrophobic. It's like everything's closing in on you and you can't breathe.
This is too stressful for me.
Next, they experienced a much tougher side of the fashion business, working all day, then sleeping on the floor of an unregulated backstreet factory.
This way, guys. Please, fresh yourself up and back to work.
I'm up for just not even giving a shit about hygiene and just getting out of here as fast as possible.
I don't want to be here for another minute. Shithole.
But tonight, things are going to get a whole lot tougher. The group will journey deep into the remote Indian countryside. There, they will have to pick and process the raw cotton that keeps the fashion industry in business.
Don't shout at me, please.
Can they handle the back-breaking conditions? And will relationships survive?
Do you know what, boys? You should be really ashamed of yourself.
It's an absolute abomination.
As they have to live on the lowest wages in the garment industry.
If we pay you 30 in the morning...
Money.
Excuse me, you've just ripped me off.
Or will coming face to face with the darkest side of fashion rip them apart at the seams?
It's the worst place I've ever been in my entire life.
6 a.m. in Delhi. After 2 weeks of life, the group set off on the next leg of their journey. They headed 300 miles west to a place few Europeans ever venture, to take up new jobs as cotton pickers. But before they could take on the cotton fields, their first challenge was to get there.
So this is what hell looks like.
Just like the other migrant workers headed to the harvest, they had to travel third class aboard a packed Indian train.
The smell is just unbearable.
What was that? Oh my God, what was that?
This is the most horrific experience.
Yeah, it's really not nice.
The conditions on the train weren't the only things that upset the group. As they travelled deeper into the heart of the Indian countryside, the whole idea of living as cotton workers filled them with dread.
Look outside. Look outside.
Yes. I just think it's going to be horrible. You're going to make us sleep in a mud hut, I know it.
After a grueling 300-mile journey, the group arrive at their destination, uncertain of what's in store.
It's a bit like a ghost town, or something like from the Wild West or something, it feels like. That sort of feel. Maybe we'll bump into Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid around here somewhere.
Ratia is a remote farming town and will be their home as they start working at the bottom end of the garment industry. Here they'll have to pick the cotton before moving on to the mills that process it.
Can't really say much at the moment. It's a bit weird.
Few Westerners ever visit, let alone stay in this part of rural India. And the sight of 6 Brits in the village is causing quite a stir.
think they've maybe never seen a white person before, or I don't know. It's a bit scary, a bit intimidating.
It's really bad. I'm actually a bit frightened.
To make matters worse, they can no longer rely on the factories for food and shelter. Now they must feed, house and support themselves, just like the other workers. Their first job will be picking cotton for a local farmer. But before they start work, he has arranged for a landlord to help them find somewhere to live. The first place on his list is a single room that they must share. It's in a block housing 30 other people.
Oh my God. I'm not staying here. No way am I staying here.
How much is this place?
30 people a day.
30
30
rupees a
rupees
day.
a day.
30 rupees is around 40 pence. Most cotton pickers' families have to survive on just £1.20 a day. A room like this is just about all they can afford.
I like it. It's rustic. It's got a lot of character. Goes with transport as well.
Well, it's not exactly a 5-star hotel, is it? The room is really sort of dingy and dirty. It just might make us ill or something.
The Brits are not prepared to live here. They want to know what else is on offer.
Need a little bit of tidying.
Dusty, but...
Like most labourers' homes, this place has no gas or hot water, and the bathroom is very basic.
Nowhere near as nice as the last place.
This one's
no
even
door on the loo.
We could see something kind of like this, but with better bathroom and toilet facilities, that'd be swell.
Having rejected the first two options, they asked to see the best property on the landlord's books.
This is interesting. Stinks like shit. We don't have a proper shower. So basically you've got a shower with like just water, cold water. This is our bedroom.
I'm nervous about the price.
How much?
50 rupees 1 day.
50 rupees.
It's not bad, is it?
At 50 rupees, around 60 pence a day, renting this house will swallow most of their wages. If they want to live here, they're going to have to work harder than ever before just to pay the rent.
What do you guys think?
This is the only one that really provides us with, you know, a place that's relatively clean to sort of sleep, and you've got a toilet where at least you've got some privacy in there.
There is a real shit stench there.
Yeah. It smells, but at least we have a bed. Can we take this place?
From now on, they must pay the landlord cash in hand, every day, no excuses.
Hi. This is our place.
Sweet home.
Smelly home.
No.
Unfortunately, I suppose these are the conditions that the workers do find themselves living in. And if we're going to live the life of a worker, then I suppose we're going to have to live in something that resembles this. I suppose it could be worse, but then I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how.
Now with a roof over their heads, they must earn the money they need to support themselves.
There's a lot of cotton over there. A little amazing how it grows, though.
R6 will be working for Mr. Singh.
Hello.
His 200-acre farm employs dozens of migrant workers to pick the crop. This year, he has agreed to employ the gang of Brits to work alongside his Indian pickers.
Some field, Sarah.
He has given them the job of clearing his last remaining field of cotton. The regular workers are amused, and for good reason. The Brits have never seen raw cotton before, let alone picked it.
I sort of very stupidly didn't even realise that cotton was still picked in a field. I just thought that we've got a lot of sort of synthetic materials and things now, so I don't know, I guess maybe I just thought that it had been replaced or that we'd come up with another technique for it.
Yeah.
It's so weird to think that, like, every single, like, cotton T-shirt, cotton jumper, cotton anything that I've got, someone's, like, hand-picked God knows how many buds of cotton.
It's all right, Miss Picking. I don't really mind it. It's quite nice and peaceful out here. It's better than being stuck in a factory all day.
They might prefer working in the fields to sewing in the factories, but there's a big downside to picking cotton. Because of the West's increasing demand for disposable high street fashion, the price of cotton is at an all-time low, And after only an hour's work, Mark discovers just how little the workers get paid.
Mr. Singh, how much do you think is that in weight?
3 kg.
3?
3. You get paid 2 rupees.
Per kilo. If it's 3 kilos, it's
6 rupees.
I've worked about an hour, I'd say, probably picking that for about 7.5p. Decided against it. I don't want to work for 7p an hour.
Mark Steadman is a 24-year-old account manager from Essex who likes to dress to impress.
You want to feel good. Looking good is an expensive hobby. It's not just hundreds of pounds, it's actually thousands of pounds when you actually really look at it. It's scary.
But how many wraps do you want? 1, 2, 3?
2.
Life at home is just Mark and his mum Tracy.
Mark, your sons?
Yeah.
He loves being pampered. He loves, oh, you've made me a cup of tea, oh, you've done me dinner. He's a mummy's boy, and I'm proud of that. This is one of his favourites, anyway. He loves these.
I mean, I could see where people were coming from. They were to say I was a mummy's boy, but I mean, she's the closest person in my life. The longest time I've ever been away from mum is actually 2 weeks.
Put your T-shirts in first, because they don't crease as much. They can be pressed down, can't they?
All right, okay.
Children who live at home, Mark's no different. They don't know the value of money until they've actually moved out and start paying for things themselves, like rent, bills, food. You know, so to him, money's no object when it comes to buying clothes because he's got nothing else to spend his money on.
Now working as a cotton picker, Mark is starting to question the value of his clothes.
It's quite mundane, it's quite boring, but I think the worst thing is the fact that obviously how much they get paid. I mean, it's even quite low in relative to how people obviously sewing are getting paid.
How much do you get paid every week?
अगर 8 बजे आइए हम खेत में तो 100 रुपया बन जाता है अगर लेट आइए तो थोड़े बनते हैं
100 rupees a day, gosh. So if you did that every day, then that's 500 rupees for the week. It's really bad.
That's the equivalent of just £6, a basic living wage in rural India.
How often do you both spend money on your clothes?
2 बार लेने और कितने बार लेने एक सर्दी में ले लेते हैं और एक गर्मी में ले लेते हैं
Really? Oh my gosh. What, twice a year? That's really bad. I've never had to struggle for anything. Everything I've wanted, like, I've had. It's just really bizarre meeting people that actually do have to struggle.
Just to be able to pay tonight's rent, the group need to pick 25 kilograms of cotton.
It's giving me a headache.
Right, I'm getting bored now. I got bored after about the first 3 picks.
But it's not long before there's a setback.
But it's making me sick.
Amrita suffers from allergies and thinks the cotton may have set off her eczema.
I can't breathe right now. I've got blood everywhere. It makes me itch and sneeze and gives me a headache. It really irritates me that I can't work here and I can't enjoy it.
Amrita Singh, 20, is a fashion student from London.
I think cheap fashion is great.
British Asian Amrita has never given much thought to the workers who make her clothes.
I've seen like labels that do say like made in India, made wherever, but at the end of the day it doesn't really affect me if it's been made by, you know, a 3-year-old or a 50-year-old.
Since she's been in India, Amrita is starting to understand how tough life for the workers can be.
It's claustrophobic. It's like everything's closing in on you and you can't breathe. If anybody told me at home and I'm only giving you like £1 a day to do so much work, I would just not work. I've been to India before, I've never had to experience anything like that before.
But now, working in the cotton fields, Amrita is yet again having a hard time.
I'm just annoyed because, yeah, I really wanted to like help out with the cotton picking and stuff, but if it's affecting my health, then I just won't do it. It's just making my skin really bad. I don't know how the rest of the team will react, but it doesn't bother me because when it comes down to my health, there's nothing else more important.
It would have been quite nice for her to just point that out at the beginning and just sort of say like, oh, although we're working in a cotton field today, I'm actually allergic to cotton and fields. So I just, yeah, that's about the only thing really. But other than that, you know, she's done really well.
With Amrita unable to continue, the remaining 5 are going to have to work far harder if they're to pick enough to feed themselves and pay the rent. In the village, Amrita visits a local doctor to get advice on her allergies.
Are you shitting me? Like, seriously?
There's an allergic problem. I can write on one ointment, you apply on it, and tablets, you get it.
Right, okay.
It will be all right. By tomorrow, you should not do this work.
The doctor insists that Amrita stays away from raw cotton, but he suspects the cause of her rash could be more than just her allergies.
You don't like India?
I do like India, but not this place. Thank you. I think you kind of realise that I'm a bit stressed out. I think the living conditions here and living quite poor is a bit tiring and it does stress me out a bit. But it's a challenge, so just got to get on with it, really.
Back in the field, the group is struggling to pick all the cotton. And now Mark is starting to suffer.
When you're cotton picking, you've got too much time to think. So I'm kind of missing pretty much everything about back home now. My mum, my friends, oh God, I'm going to say it, but my job, just food, lifestyle, creature comforts, the whole lot. I'm definitely missing home now. Definitely missing home.
It's 5 p.m. and the day is drawing to a close. The group needs 50 rupees to pay their rent, plus money for food and other essentials. It means they must pick at least 50 kilograms of cotton, a tough order given they are one person down.
No, it's 26 to be.
Hello. 12 kg? 20.
Having slogged their guts out, the group has managed to pick a total of 59 kilograms. They've earned 120 rupees between them, around £1.50, but still enough to pay their rent.
Thank you.
Working today and earning sort of so little in comparison to obviously what we earn in England has certainly made me appreciate those mornings that I wake up and sort of think, oh, you know, I wish I was earning a bit more money, or I wish my life was going a little bit better.
With money in their pockets, Georgina and Mark head off to the local market. Meanwhile, Tara wants to find out what life is like for workers like Paolo, who've had to survive on these wages for years.
Oh, my rubbish.
Tara, 21, wants to be a fashion designer just like her mum.
My mum designs a concession range at Topshop called Tara Starlet, which she named after me, which is really girly, lovely, pretty dresses.
She thinks that working in the Indian garment industry will give her a head start in her career.
I really look forward to learning more skills, because when I leave university, that's what I want to go into full-time business with my mum.
In the first Delhi factory, she proved she had what it takes working on the sewing lines.
I'm very happy with your hard work also.
And when she experienced life in the backstreet factories, she was genuinely moved by the lives of the tailors.
People here bosh out stuff every day and they get 12 rupees for each one. It just seems really, really unfair, like being really cheated.
Now she's in the cotton fields. Tara is finding out what life is like for those on the bottom rung of the fashion ladder. Cotton picker Paolo lives with her family in a one-roomed house on the edge of the farm. She's been doing the same job her whole life, and this is all she has ever known.
Do you think that you should be paid more for the cotton job? Do you think that your wages are unfair for cotton picking?
पैसे तो फिर इन्नी गर्मी च इन्ना काम करके ज़्यादा ही मिलने चाहिए ने फिर जमा थोड़ी तो फिर जिवें कहंदे ने 2 रुपये चलदे हुण 10 रुपये तां हुण चलदी है.
Is that enough? Does that satisfy the family?
फिर पूरे दिन वास्ते तो फिर कुछ भी नहीं बनया काम जे 70 रुपये दिहाड़ी मिली तो कुछ भी नहीं गी फिर तां सारे दिन तो कुछ भी नहीं हैगी फिर दिहाड़ी.
I think that it just gets to a stage sometimes where people, if they can get away with cheap labour, then they will do it because it's in their best interest. And I think that it's that mentality that gets us in places where there's like amazing people working really, really, really hard for like their entire families and getting paid next to nothing.
3 kilos of rice. We've got coriander.
We've got garlic, potato.
Despite money being tight, they have managed to buy the essentials and survive their first day.
Thankfully, it has turned out okay. I mean, we searched for obviously as much food as we possibly could. I mean, it could have been a hell of a lot worse.
But tomorrow could be a very different story.
It's quite scary thinking that we've got to live off our wage for tomorrow, but I think that it will make us work a lot harder and kind of take the job a lot more seriously because, yeah, it'll be our bellies that will be suffering otherwise.
It's 9 a.m. the next morning. The group have picked the cotton, so now it's time for them to experience the next stage of the process. Welcome to the cotton mill. Every day, ton after ton of raw cotton arrives here from the nearby farms and is piled high outside the mill. The group's job will be to feed these huge piles through a series of machines that clean and purify, making it ready to be spun into cloth. If harvesting under the Indian sun was an eye-opener, life in the mill will be a revelation. This really is the most physically demanding job anywhere in the fashion industry. Today, the Brits will have to clear this 15-ton pile of raw cotton. 22-year-old factory boss Aman sets each of them tasks.
This is your task work.
Oh God.
Stacy and Richard is going to work over here.
Okay.
This is the heap. You have to finish this for me. Okay. Jump with more power.
Richard and Stacy will be working on the pile, feeding the pipes that carry the cotton to the machines that remove all the impurities. It's vital they keep a constant flow to the factory at all times. Inside, Mark is given his task for the day. Aman wants him to carry giant sacks of purified cotton to the packing machines on his head.
Big sack like that on my head. I'm not used to it. My back's already hurting. I'm not sitting there carrying a big load of cotton on my head.
Mark refuses to carry the heavy sacks on his head, so instead, boss Aman makes him work alongside the girls. The labourers here must work non-stop, or the machines will jam.
This job that I'm doing now, probably the most hard work that I've ever done in my life. I've got cotton in my eye, cotton in my throat. It's just miserable. It's dark, it's hot. It's like the air's dense with like cotton. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings, like where all the orcs are making all the weapons. It's like really miserable and oh, I hate it. It's just unbearably difficult.
Less than 1 hour into their first shift, Georgina has had enough.
Why are you sitting over here? What's the problem you're having? Tell me.
I've got a headache.
You're having a headache?
Yes, and my throat hurts.
Come. It isn't good for my reputation. Please stand. Please.
Richard, however, seems to be having more fun. Tired of shoveling cotton, he thinks he's come up with a better way of lightening the load.
Yeah, they seem to be exerting quite a lot of energy using that pick for pretty minimal rewards, to be honest. Whereas actually, if you just sit at the top of the pile and just use your own body weight, which is obviously a lot more than what you can get with just a pickaxe, then you'll find that you knock a lot more cotton down. So, just makes sense to do it like that.
But Arman, the owner, doesn't agree.
Take it seriously and just don't play.
Yeah, well, if I find something fun, then I'll do it harder. Maybe if your workers found their work fun, they'd be more motivated to do it, so you get more done.
But you have to mix it with the fun and do the work, but you are just doing fun and fun.
He doesn't like to see people having fun because he thinks that means they're not working. But actually, I see it slightly differently. If you've got people that are having fun, then they're motivated to work more.
The work isn't going such smoothly. It's wastage of money, wastage of time, it's wastage of everything. A single day work will take them up to 3 days work with the rate of work they are going on.
Meanwhile, Amrita, who is still under doctor's orders to avoid contact with cotton, has stayed at home.
I don't really know if anyone collects rubbish around here, but it's just making a big mess. So maybe I should just leave the rubbish out here and maybe someone will come and pick it up.
Although they've only been living in their workers' home for a day, already the basic conditions which they're not used to are beginning to take their toll. And there's one thing in particular that Amrita is struggling to cope with.
This is our bathroom. The guys have left like a really, really gross mess in the loo, Richard and Mark. And Mark openly admitted to it. And they've left like a really gross mess in the loo, and it's all blocked up and unusable, and I wouldn't really go in there. That's mean.
Desperate to escape the stench of raw sewage, Amrita heads to the market to buy tonight's supper.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know what I'm doing and what I'm getting or what I'm, like, gonna do at all. Well, I know the group like bananas, so maybe I should just pick up some bananas.
Yesterday, Georgina and Mark just about scraped through. If Amrita is going to feed the group, she had better barter well.
How much?
Unbeknown to the market stallholder, Amrita is having to survive on a cotton picker's wage.
I gave him 100 rupees and he gave me 75 back. That is like almost a quarter of our shopping budget. Excuse me, you've just ripped me off. You gave me 75 back. You owe me money back. You just charged me 25 rupees for bananas. I don't know what to do. He doesn't understand. No, not 5. I'm not paying 20 rupees just for bananas. It's like talking to a brick wall. Give me my money back.
Amrita will need to dramatically improve her bargaining skills if the group is to survive on their cotton labouring wage.
How much? No, I'm not giving you 20. Then you can keep them. I'll give you 10, but I'm not giving you more than 10. That's fine. Well, he gave in. I got him for 10, so that's fine.
Back at the mill, the Brits are still struggling to clear the 15-ton pile of cotton. To try and increase their productivity, Boss Aman has rotated the team and left his foreman in charge to crack the whip.
Yes, I am!
Fuck
off. Oh, if you shout at me, mister. I can't understand what you're saying.
Mark and Georgina are now on the pile. They're working hard, but are falling well short of what the Indian workers would achieve and are woefully behind schedule.
Don't shout at me, please. Don't shout in my face. I think that's just mean. That's really nasty. You don't see me shouting in your face. That's rude. Can you tell him not to shout in my face like you just did?
ये नए लोग आए हैं एक दफा तो यही सोच रहे हैं भी हमारे लिए इनके लिए तो खेल बना रखा है इन्होंने ये उसको यही है भी जाओ तो काम करो वो ढंग से नहीं करेगा तो उसको हम फैक्ट्री से भगाते हैं
That prat, wherever he's gone. Oh, I just think he's awful. This is a really hands-on task and we are trying our hardest, and I think people just need to slack off us a little bit.
It's 7 hours into the working day, and usually the whole pile of cotton would be cleared by now. Desperate to get the job finished, Boss Aman gets the whole group focusing on one task, but still they have made little impact. Then suddenly, they're set back even further.
My emerald bracelet that my godmother made me for my 21st birthday. It's gone up this.
We was right by the pump pushing the stuff in, and Tara's just had her 21st, and her godmother made her like this emerald bracelet, and it was really expensive, and now we've lost it, and now everyone's trying to help us find it.
With Tara hysterical, the entire factory shuts down to help her find her £800 bracelet.
What a nightmare. You couldn't lose it in a worse place.
Suddenly, there's big news.
Oh my God, someone found it. I don't know
Who found it? Thank you. This lady found it. Tara, this lady.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone was so
I feel like
kind.
a right little drama queen now because we stopped the whole factory to find it. Oh,
You should say a big thank you to everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Shukriya. Shukriya.
They may have found the bracelet, but the bad news is they're even further behind schedule. Back at the house, Amrita has returned from the market with just enough ingredients to put together a meal.
I don't care if nobody likes it, they will eat it. If they don't like it, they can starve. I'm really, really hungry now. Well, I've been waiting for the other guys to come back. I'm just absolutely starving. I just hope they come back really soon.
But instead of the rest of the group, it's the landlord coming around for the rent.
See, I only have, you go on, 10, 20, 30, no, that's 40. 30, that's 40. I have no more money. Tomorrow morning, we give you the rest. Tomorrow morning? Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
For Amrita, the reality of a day in the life of an Indian cotton worker is starting to sink in.
It's just a bit of a cycle, really. It's just, you know, you get through one day and then you think about you don't really think about the next day. You have to, you wait to get paid to eat the next day, kind of thing. I'm not sure that the workers have a chance to think about the future. They can't really save money because they've got to spend it on food or, living expenses. So it's quite hard.
I'm so hungry, I could just eat this cotton wool.
It's 9 p.m, and back at the mill, the exhausted Brits have stopped working. But the pile of cotton is only half cleared.
You haven't completed the job till now also? Why?
Because we did loads and we've had a bit of a drama today as well.
What drama?
We're coming back to finish it tomorrow.
No, I want you to finish today.
No, I'm tired.
We have done so much today.
I'll provide you with sweaters.
And we're
Pullovers.
hungry.
I will provide you pullovers, but you have to work today. Chalo, they'll work today. No. Put on the switch.
No,
you have to go.
We're too hungry. We'll starve to death.
No, you won't starve today.
And to make matters worse, a fresh delivery arrives, but it can't be unloaded until the Brits pile is finished.
You have to do the work today. Because if I am having a new delivery, only 2 hours more.
Even if we work solidly, the 6 of us,
not
until
tonight.
9 p.m.
Not six of you. There will be my workers also.
Tonight, for me, is not an option, only because I am starving.
What do you think, Mark? Are you up for working?
Look, I think we've worked hard today.
We've worked really hard.
He's almost come in and said that we haven't.
Yeah, basically. You can't expect someone to come in and work like people who've been doing it their whole lives.
I'm not doing it, I'm going. I don't know what you guys want to do.
We're going to go home if that's all right, thank you.
Sorry, I'm going.
It's lovely to meet you. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, I did work hard there. I built up a sweat. I mean, my T-shirt was quite soaked through. And then just to be told that you're not working hard enough, you're not working like an Indian worker, I don't have to take that from him. He's got his own Indian workers to work on it, so I'm sure he'll be fine.
I thought that they could understand my problem and stayed. If I would ask my regular workers to work for me for an hour or too much, it's my necessity or it's my problem, they would have understand, and I would have paid them extra money. They would have done the work.
With Mark and the rest of the group refusing to go back to work, Aman's regular workers must clear the rest of the pile that the Brits have left behind.
As a group, we've come to the decision that we want to go home. At the end of the day, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel slightly guilty, because I do. But basically, we've worked so hard today, like really, really hard. We just haven't got the energy anymore.
I think the conditions they probably work in and the hours they work are not great, and I couldn't work those hours, but you can't take someone out of such a comfort zone that I live in at home and expect me to come here and, you know, adapt so quickly, and then, for me, it's not good.
I know that I personally would be happy to pay a little bit more for whatever I'm buying, to know that it hasn't been made in horrible conditions, getting paid next to nothing.
It is sad to think that, you know, these people struggle after they work so hard, because it's not like they're lazy buttheads just sitting on their butt. It does make you think something's not quite right here.
After a gruelling day at the mill, the group return home.
Yeah, I'm good. What happened today? What did you guys do?
All the time back tomorrow, like we're exhausted to the point of I don't even know if I can eat. Everyone basically refused to work because we were so tired and so hungry and so cold and so exhausted and starving hungry.
God.
Let's eat. Can we eat? Do you
Of course you can. Go for it. Oh my God. Wow.
The relentless cycle of working just to survive is starting to take its toll.
It just made me feel sick sometimes, just laying here and knowing that you need to have a shower, but you can't. It's absolutely gross. It's just eating, living conditions, not having a wash and stuff like that. It's just, I can't live like that, you know?
Probably the tiredest I've ever... Apart from this, the tiredest probably I've ever felt was when I was a newborn baby and I'd just been born. You know, babies are always sleepy. That's honestly how much sleepy I feel.
It's 9 a.m. the next day. The group has been living like rural cotton labourers for 3 days now, and their conditions are rapidly deteriorating. This morning, the frustration of living in such squalor has become too much for Tara and Stacey.
Whoever's blocked the toilet is just going to have to get up off their fat ass and clean it.
They could have sorted it out when it was a small problem, but they carried on fucking shitting on top of shit on top of shit because they're too lazy and they don't know how to clean it up.
The toilet is absolutely minging. It's just vile. It smells like someone's died in there. It's disgusting. One of the boys, or both of the boys, we're not too sure, has blocked it up with their stinky boy poos and their mounds of tissue. So we can't actually use the toilet and we're all dying of pain. Boys?
It seems the prime suspects are unwilling to face the music.
I can't believe they've locked themselves in there. It's so pathetic. It's locked from their room, the toilet there.
To make matters worse, the landlord has arrived to collect the remaining rent he is owed. But before he mentions money, his nose leads him straight to the blocked toilet.
Hey. Toilet closed.
I know, I'm so sorry, but it's not us. I'm so...
Boys, the landlord's here and he needs some explanation about the toilet, so you better come out. Because it's none of our responsibility and we're not taking the rap for you.
Toilet closed.
Can you not tell me, please, because it's not my
No.
It's the boys in there.
It's the boys. I'm sorry that you've had to see that, but it's not us. It's not our... We've not even been to the toilet.
No problem, solve karo.
I'm not doing it. I'm not. I'm
No
so
way, not in a
sorry.
million years am I going anywhere near that.
Do you know what, boys? You should be really ashamed of yourself, because I'm out here and he's telling me to get it cleaned. Why am I even taking the rap? This is complete and utter nonsense.
They obviously don't give a shit. I can hear them, they're coughing, I can hear that they're awake. Boys, are you going to come out like fucking men and stop behaving like kids? I hope you're really, really embarrassed, because I wouldn't even tolerate this from a child.
My plumber 150
We can't afford
We can't afford to do that.
It's just not even an option. He'll have to just get a stick and sort it out.
Okay, bye.
With no resolution in sight, the landlord leaves them to sort out the blockage themselves.
I've never met any boys that immature.
It doesn't take too much of a genius to realise that it's not because of people going to the toilet, it's actually because of the tissue and the ecosystem just can't handle it.
The way that they're sort of acting at the minute, I mean, we can still hear them squabbling out there, and I'm just not going to just keep out of their way, not going to say anything to them until sort of they've calmed down a bit.
We can hear them giggling and locking themselves in the bedroom. How fucking pathetic.
With the boys refusing to emerge from the bedroom, a standoff seems inevitable. However, Richard and Mark have come up with a plan to get them out of the house.
With regards to the situation yesterday, I realised that actually in the sort of fortunate situation that we are, being from the Western world, being over here in India, sort of working in that factory yesterday, then yeah, we did have the choice to walk out. So I think that's now why we're saying that actually we've sort of realised that. So that's why today we'd like to go back and sort of give them our time.
If it wasn't for the fact that they've just been made to look like a pair of pathetic little children and complete imbeciles, then there's no way they'd be going back to the factory this morning. No way. They're just trying to make us look like lazy bitches.
Make sure you don't shit all over the factory, because you're not even capable of shitting down a hole.
As the boys wait on the bus to take them back to the factory, Tara goes to confront them.
It's an absolute, abomination. It's an absolute piss take. Just let me know when you're going to do it, because it has to get done.
Who do you think you're speaking to? Well, have a bit of respect.
Oh my God, don't talk to me about respect. Mark, when are you going to clean the toilet? Don't talk to me about respect. You're locking yourselves in your bedroom this morning.
Are you having a laugh, you massive drama queen? Friggin' turn into Kate Winslet.
Okay, well, I just want you to know that this loo needs to get cleaned, and it's none of our responsibilities, and I just hope that you are going to take it upon yourselves to do it. And I think that it's an absolute joke that you're going to the factory now pretending like you give a shit to try and clear your names because you've looked like such a pair of wallies this morning. And, yeah, I hope you have a great time.
When the group quit yesterday evening, Aman's regular labourers were forced to work long into the night to finish processing the Brits' pile of raw cotton. Today, that processed cotton needs to be baled, ready for dispatch to the spinning factories. It's in this baling unit that Richard and Mark will be put to work this morning.
Will it be okay for you?
As long as I don't have to carry that on my head.
It's risky job.
Risky?
Watch your eyes, Mark. Watch good.
I think I've lost the shoe.
To create one bale takes 12 sacks of raw cotton. Each bale weighs a staggering half a ton, roughly the same weight as a small family car.
Oh, fuck me, you almost killed me.
Before the day's work is done, Richard and Mark must complete 10 bales between them, enough to make thousands of pairs of jeans.
जो भी किया आपके वर्करों ने अच्छा काम किया, बड़े अच्छे ढंग से किया, हम इनके काम से संतुष्ट हैं.
That's probably the most tiring job out of all of it, to be honest.
It's really sort of like physically straining, so it starts to take its toll after a while.
Yeah.
Feel a lot sort of, you know, better now, like sort of, not necessarily like conscience is clear type thing, but I think it was just out of sort of respect for them, to be honest. You know, they sort of helped us out yesterday evening by sort of, you know, finishing off our work. So, I mean, it was, you know, it was only sort of right that we come back and help them do some of their work.
Fuck me.
Having finished a physically draining job, the boys return to their cotton labourer's home. But with the toilets still blocked, tensions are high. Richard and Mark head straight for the bedroom. The girls aren't impressed.
They have no intention of cleaning that bathroom.
But I'm not doing it, and you're not doing it, she's not doing it, she's not doing it, so...
No one in the bloody world should have tried to do it, and then I thought, fuck it, why should I do it? It's not my job.
It's nothing to do with us.
Mark took about 100 shits in there. He even said that, he told me.
I have not once heard Mark apologise, ever. And he
I don't
knew.
think he's done it in his life. He's just a mummy's boy. He's just had everything handed to him on a plate since he was probably a kid.
Yeah. I feel so sorry for his mum, because if I was his mother, I would be so ashamed of him, because he has acted...
Listening in next door, the girls' comments proved too much for Mark.
I can't do with the arguing. That really upset me about saying, Mum, be ashamed of me. It was just... You've known me for 3 weeks, you can't judge me, and especially my mum, you couldn't judge my mum. To use someone who's so close to me as a part of a personal attack on me was quite low, really, really low.
It's 9 a.m. and the Brits' final day of living and working alongside the cotton labourers in Haryana. The group need to vacate their home in a few hours, but with everyone still at loggerheads, Mark decides to confront the girls about the comments he overheard last night.
Do you want to come out here, please? I don't know where to start, really. Some of the comments that I sort of overheard, you know, like my mum and stuff like that, I took a hell of a lot of offence to that.
You know, it was just heat of the moment, and for that, you know, I do apologise, so I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate it. It's just like, I'm not eating, I'm not particularly sleeping. How often we get into clean, it's just, do you know what I mean? And all that is just, it takes a massive toll on me. And it is quite hard, and that's why I've been withdrawn. And, you know, there was, I mean, when we sort of came here, I was quite buzzing at the beginning of the week, because for the first time I thought, actually, I might get a good night's sleep here, and it's not actually that dirty here, and hang on, I've got some food I can relate with, and I probably would eat back home, and I thought, hang on, I could probably start enjoying myself again. But, I don't know, but then also a combination of being homesick and stuff like that, I don't know.
I just think that, you know, we're all having the same issues as you are, but we're all just dealing with it in different ways, and, you know, fair enough, you haven't been able to deal with it that well. I think now we've just got to figure out whether, you know, we can all be civil and get on with the rest of the experience.
All right, Cool. Speak to you in a bit.
With a fragile peace brokered, all that's left is for the group to pack up and reflect on their week spent working and surviving at the bottom rung of the fashion industry.
I never really thought about where my clothes came from, and I didn't really care, if I'm totally honest. But, you know, it's made me certainly look and think, well, shit, you know, there's people who are slaving away trying to, you know, make my clothes. That, you know, I have been bothered by this experience. And I think that's a good thing.
It has been quite hard for me at times. You had to do everything for yourself. You weren't waiting for someone to shout out that your dinner's ready. It's totally different from what I have back home, and it's made me realise, you know, how lucky I actually do have it, especially at home, in the sense that, you know, my mum would make all my dinners and stuff like that. I'm very grateful for all that now. So yeah, no, it was probably the hardest sort of situation that I've experienced in this journey already, so far.
So far, 6 Brits have spent 3 weeks attempting to discover the truth about how their high street clothes are made. They learned to sew in a multi-million-pound export house.
It's very stressful. I've got these people buzzing around me telling me what to do.
And put their skills to the test in an unregulated backstreet factory.
I need a rest.
They've harvested cotton under the burning sun and endured the harsh reality of life in the mill. Now it's time for them to travel to Mumbai, where they'll come face to face with the most shocking aspect of the fashion industry. With the cotton season over, soon work in Haryana will dry up, forcing the migrant workers who flocked here in spring to move on to find employment elsewhere. Many head to Mumbai, the so-called Indian city of dreams. So following in their footsteps, it's here on India's southwest coast that our Brits will embark on the final part of their adventure. Mumbai might be home to Bollywood and Indian high society, but it's also home to the largest slum in Asia, Dharavi, a warren of backstreet factories that churns out millions of garments for export all over the world, many ending up in Britain. The group are met by Devendra, a student who has grown up in the slum.
I'm going to show you the reality of Dharavi. I'm going to show you the garment factories. And some of these garment factories, they're exporting their garments to Western countries. Excuse me, guys. We are going this way. Let's move.
As the Brits make their way through the narrow, dirty lanes and open sewers, nothing they've experienced so far has prepared them for this.
It stinks, like it makes you gag. It's filthy. There's like poo on the floor, wee on the floor, rats on the floor, dead dogs on the floor.
But amongst the filth and open sewers, there's a thriving fashion industry.
You can see here they're making jeans. And they're making jeans for branded companies. This is what the reality is all about.
There are factories literally stacked on top of each other.
And you can see on the opposite side, that's one more garment factory. And even upstairs, they are making garments. So there are lots and lots of garment factories here. Come very slowly. Pass your hand, man. You can see it's a very small place, but a lot of people are employed in it. And you can see the working condition is not so good. Come slowly.
Are these legal?
These factories are completely illegal.
This is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, the working conditions are absolutely
it's not
dreadful.
on. And the Indian Prime
How can
Minister
you
should
live
do
like
something.
this? It's filthy.
rubbish.
How can you live in these conditions? Don't you get sick?
They are used to it now. But once you are accustomed to one condition, and once you want to support your family, you need to work anywhere.
Eventually, they arrive at the factory they'll be working at next.
Oh my God.
So here they're making clothes for small kids. You can see how they're making it.
It's just awful. Hell on earth.
No one should have to live like this. It's completely unacceptable. It's the worst place I've ever been in my entire life.
Next week, the group face their toughest conditions yet, working in the largest slum in Asia.
Oh my God, a bit of the ceiling just fell off.
It's the final leg of their journey, and things are about to get a whole lot worse.
Conditions are just really, really, really miserable.
Dirty, filthy, disgusting place to work, and it's just not safe.
They will come face to face with the darkest side of the fashion industry.
If someone asked me to describe hell, this is what I would describe.
And try to find an alternative way of getting clothes made.
When you buy this handmade product of Creative Handicrafts, a fair trade organisation, you make our world a less unequal place.
As they return home to the UK, will the 6 fashion fanatics ever feel the same about their clothes again?
Just bits of material that we wear, and you know, there's more to life than just the clothes.
Looking for something to wear that's been ethically produced? Check out Thread. Fashion without victim.
BBC Three, along with the BBC's new online eco-fashion magazine Thread, would like to hear your views on ethical and eco-fashion. Log on to bbc.co.uk/BBC3 and go to Be On TV and let us know what you think. Next, EastEnders.